Recently, I asked in my community a sort of trick question about what are those behaviors that once we get into the spiritual path, we're supposed to have more, we're supposed to cultivate, we're supposed to include more in our lives, those behaviors that are consonant with spirituality. And I had in both communities beautiful answers in all these behaviors that we know we're supposed to have more. And I want to read some of the topics that kind of stood out between all the comments, and that is to be more loving, to feel more unity, and to be of service, gratitude and appreciation, no judgment and acceptance, listening and empathy, mindfulness and presence, authenticity and honest expression, conscious expression, forgiveness, big one, letting go, connection with nature and the body, and routines and conscious habits. All of these are great, and we can all agree that yes, we would like to have more of those. And there's a reason why we feel this and not question it. There might be some questioning, but not that we don't want to have more of this. It's an obvious choice for us, right? But here's the thing. What happens when we take all of this as a mental cue for how we are supposed to be? The mind is very clever, and it'll take this as a way to say, oh, that's how I am supposed to be. This is how I should be all the time. And it'll start mimicking this in many ways. I think we've all experienced this as a sort of, okay, I'm going to feel more spiritual if I do these things. What's going to happen? You're going to find the opposite of these behaviors in you. You're going to find, and these are just antonyms that I came up with to all the beautiful things that people said, but it is the truth. We're going to find unkindness, anger, judgment, and resistance. We're going to find disdain in us, envy, resentment, unconscious patterns, addictive patterns. All these negative behaviors are going to arise in us as a sort of rebellion to these cues of being nice, being kind, being loving. The reason is because you are everything. You are meant to process, experience everything. And we're not meant to push these aside once we see what is the right behavior. We may not have that right behavior in us because it hasn't been processed. So if we don't feel these emotions, if we don't feel these desires, right, unconscious desires, and if we don't act sometimes in these unconscious behaviors, then we're never going to know that they're there. They're just being repressed once again, not by distractions, but by spiritual cues and a sort of mental override of our behaviors. This has a very liberating effect to everybody who is undergoing this process when they are given permission to be angry, to feel their envy, their jealousy, their disdain, their resentment, all of this. People feel so liberated. Why is that? Aren't we supposed to be extremely spiritual and extremely happy all the time? Nonsense. We're meant to experience all of this. And that is the biggest trap that we can fall into if we give the mind all these as sort of commandments that we have to be this way. We must behave this way. This is what's spiritual. In my Spanish community, there's a clever girl that deciphered this and said, I don't consider any of this spiritual because when I go into my negative behaviors, then I will feel like I am lost. I am not spiritual anymore. And that doesn't make any sense. She was right on point. And that was the whole intention of my trick question, to realize that all these things are not things that we have to do, that we don't have to enact on them. We don't have to mimic them. That's the mind doing it. So let me tell you what's going to happen. All these behaviors are going to be your natural state the more you become aware of who you are. In other words, these behaviors are not there because somebody told us that they are good. They're there because we have experienced it over and over again as we allow the experiences to be processed, to be moved through us. When we allow them to move through us without any identity, what is left is kindness. What is left is wisdom. What is left is a desire to be of service. What is left is habits, conscious habits, and so on. All of these develop naturally. You don't have to develop them. This is why sometimes people get lost in rituals, in practices, in exercises, in all kinds of things that are supposedly bringing them to that state. They do not belong to particular exercises or teachings or anything of that kind. All of these belong to the natural state of being. But if we don't allow the darkness in us, all those negative behaviors to flourish, then you don't have a fertile territory, a fertile soil into which these flowers can come up. It's toxic. It's still there. We haven't processed them. And the more we get into spiritual practices and supposed commandments of how we're supposed to behave, then the more we're going to repress them, because we're going to feel that they are inappropriate, inadequate. We shouldn't be this way. I shouldn't be feeling this jealousy. I'm a spiritual person. You have to feel everything. We are afraid of feeling those because we think we're going to become that. And rightly so. When we are lost in the ego, we think that we can justify those behaviors. Even if they don't feel right, they make us feel safe. It makes the ego feel safe. So the real fear is to let go of the ego and fully experience the emotion, fully experience the negative behavior, the addictive patterns in themselves. How many times do people come to me, and I have experienced myself, that an addictive pattern comes back after months. I thought I got rid of it, and suddenly I'm doing it again. It was just a repression. It was a distraction. You haven't fully processed it. And sure enough, most of these addictive patterns, not all of them, but a good amount of them, they're very harmful for us. Some of them are not. They're just things that we are used to distract ourselves. So, where's the judgment? Experience it, notice it, and allow it to be. Then understand it better, without the nagging voice that says, this is wrong. It's not wrong. Learn how it makes you feel over and over again until something else is going to change. Nothing stays the same. Everything transforms. Everything changes. Everything evolves. You have to experience it. So if there's a message in my video here today, is that while it is true that we have all these all these positive patterns that come through us, yes, and all these are real. We all resonate with them because we say, yes, that's the right human. That's the right behavior. They can mask or prevent us from experiencing that which is already within us and hasn't been processed. I want you to see it as a database of behaviors in you, of thoughts, of worldviews that are clearly in the primitive stage. I'm not going to say bad, but they're in a primitive stage. They're being unconscious. They're just being reactive patterns. So these reactive patterns, just like a seed, we can say is the primitive flower, right? There's a seed there. All of these behaviors, all of these thoughts, all of these feelings, depressions, and everything that we feel, oh no, I'm too spiritual to be depressed or anxious. I thought I got rid of this. Don't do it. Let that seed sprout. How do you let it sprout? Don't interfere. Don't try to crack it open. Don't try to push it into the earth and water it every day and put too much stuff in it because it's good for it. Leave it be. Allow it through. And all of these behaviors that we deem negative are simply primitive. They're infantile. They need to grow. And how do we allow them to grow? We create space for it. We allow them to be. And we observe them without judgment. We're not observing them because, oh, I'm going to figure out a way to get rid of this. You don't do that. That's the ego talking. You observe it because you're curious as to what it is informing you and what is the next step for it. What would be the next step for it? Don't have any preconceptions of what it's going to be. Don't have any expectations. Just watch it. Allow it to be. All these emotions need to be allowed through. So the rest is going to be a result, a side effect of allowing yourself to be. So what it is that you have to do, one practice. I don't teach, I don't show anything else but one single practice. Return identity to its source. Who are you in the moment? Are you the judging voice? The one with expectations? Or are you simply the awareness of the experience? And how does that feel? Out of this return of attention to its source, when identity is in its right place, then all these behaviors will flourish, they will bloom, and they will become part of your personality, in which there is no resentment anymore, there is no anger, but you have to feel it. You have to really allow it through. Have no fear about it. Who has fear but the ego? And it's only because I feel safe with this. I can't let this go. Stop clinging from it. Just allow it. So all of these behaviors actually are just a result of being who you are. They will come naturally. You don't have to do them. Don't feel like you have to do these things, that you have to be this way. You have to allow them to be. Don't force them. They will be phony. They will be fake. They will feel as not you. Just reinforcing an ego that it's got its days counted. It's about to die, and it just feels fear about it and tries to substitute it with good behaviors and good thoughts and happy things and positive affirmations and so on. You have to feel everything that is inside you. The rest is just about being. Being has all the intelligence that you need, not your mind. Thank you for watching this video. As always, I hope it is helpful to liberate yourself from all these things that we think we have to do. We have to behave. We have to be in a certain way because it is what we're supposed to be. No, you are perfect as you are. And all of these primitive behaviors, they're just waiting for you to flourish them, to allow them to grow. And they're going to grow always in the direction of your true personality. If you want to join the community where I posted this question, and you can join more people like us who are on this path, then check the link in the description where you can join the community for free. All you need to do is bring your best version and be yourself in there. That's all we really care for. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you again for watching, and hoping this was helpful to you. I'll see you in the next video.